We're getting everything organized so that things can run smoothly, so just bear with us, and then we'll get started. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order our subcommittee meeting. Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Chair Brayback.
Here.
Representatives Hood.
Present.
Fury.
Present.
O'Neill.
Present.
Steckloff.
Present.
Menser.
Here.
Boland.
Here.
Leitner.
Here.
Kuhn. Chair, you have all members present.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Committee members and folks who are with us here today, we received a number of amendments where everyone was getting organized so that we can move through those hopefully uneventfully. We'll be able to move through those. So thank you all for your patience. So let's do a couple business things. Rep. Leitner moves to approve the minutes from our prior meeting without any objection. The minutes are approved. And now let's get down to the reason why we are here. So we have Rep. O'Neill moves to place the House substitute for HB 5516 before the subcommittee. Mr. Clerk.
Chair Brayback.
Yes.
Representatives Hood.
Yes.
Fury.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Steckloff.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Boland.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
No.
Chair, you have 8 yeas, 1 nay. Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I appreciate it. So before you, when we all have the budget bill, you have in front of you the summary, and you should have in front of you 18 amendments. And our fiscal team is going to take over. Mike Knassen, Austin Scott. They're going to walk us through some of the high-level things in our budget, and then we will go from there. Take it away.
Good morning, representatives. As Chair Brayback said, I'm Michael Knassen with the House Fiscal Agency, and I'm here with Austin Scott, and we will be moving through the General Government House Fiscal Agency summary document that you should have in the papers in front of you somewhere. Starting at the top table for this is total funding for all general government departments and agencies. The House recommends $5.2 billion. And this is a $214.1 million gross fund decrease from the current year. More so, this is a reduction of $311.1 million in general fund, or 20% decrease from fiscal year 24. Much of these decreases are from the removal of one-time funding that was included in the current year. Moving first, before we get to Attorney General, we're going to go through the general section boilerplate that is tied to all the budgets. First one, Section 210, is the Budget Stabilization Fund, or the Rainy Day Fund. The executive includes $100 million for deposit into the fund. House does not include a deposit. The executive deletes many reporting and other requirements, and the House retains. However, in a few sections, the House concurs with the executive. One is Section 214, requires the department to maintain a publicly accessible website that identifies and tracks performance metrics, performance against key metrics. House concurs with deleting this item. On the next page, Section 219. 219 authorizes the legislature by concurrent resolution adopted by the majority to intertransfer funds in the event that the state administrative board makes a transfer of funds with the budget. The executive recommends to delete this and the House concurs. House also concurs with deleting Section 220, which is a severance pay report that requires that any amount of severance pay given to a high-ranking department official be reported to the legislature. And House concurs with deleting that. Some new sections are added in Section 227. This requires, the House adds a section that requires departments and agencies to post all the reports required by budget boilerplate on their website by the required due date. Section 228, another new section, it requires all construction, repair, or remodeling projects to be undertaken by the state departments to be performed by individuals who've completed or are enrolled in a registered apprenticeship program. And lastly, the Section 229 is a new section added in fiscal year 24, which requires transparency reporting on all grants directed to or intended for a single entity or recipient, to report details on those. Executive recommends deleting it. House concurs. Moving to our first department, Department of Attorney General. House recommends $134.5 million. This is an $8.2 million decrease from the current year. And for general fund, it's a $14.3 million decrease from the current year, which is 18.9%. Item number 1 is a new item added by the House for county prosecutor grants. This is $3 million general funds for grants to county prosecutors that identifies offices that are understaffed, and grantees must use the grant to bring staffing closer to optimal levels to reduce the average caseload per attorney. Item 2, House includes $2 million general fund, an increase to the payroll fraud enforcement unit to support increased legal actions against employers who fraudulently underpay their employees, and activities to strengthen whistleblower protections. Item number 3 is another funding item that the House included or added. House includes $1 million for the Operation Survivor Justice, which is for use towards cost of prosecutors of extraditing individuals with outstanding warrants for sexual assault-related offenses. The funding would be used to as state match funding for federal grants. This item increases $1 million to the state restricted Attorney General's Operations Fund to supplant general fund to make it available to support this. So House increases $1 million to that state restricted fund. House concurs with many executive recommended increases, ongoing increases for various legal services to departments and agencies, which make up all of page 4. I will highlight item number 5, which is a executive one-time recommendation of $850,000 in IDG funding to MISHDA for efforts to investigate fraud pertaining to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. On the next page, item 11, you see that House concurs with removing $21.4 million of one-time funding, and that is where you see much the overall gross decrease in the top table. Boilerplate, Section 305, House deletes the section authorizing reimbursement from the Third Circuit Court of Wayne County of up to $400,000 for food stamp fraud cases. This program is no longer being utilized and being deleted to reflect that. Section 306 subjects the proceeds of tobacco settlement litigation to the appropriations process. Executive maintains the current language. House revises it to include proceeds of litigation against a manufacturer or distributor of opioid products and transfers this section to 320. I will skip ahead to page 6, section 321 at the top. House adds a new section that requires the department to maintain a publicly available internet website dedicated to the opioid settlement distributions, and requires the website to include reporting on funding payable to and received by local units of government by case. And section 330 is related to the one-time funding for county prosecutor grants. It provides more of the details of how the program works, and states that the goal of achieving the staffing level is 1,855 hours worked annually per attorney. moving on to civil rights then. House recommends $29.3 million gross funding. GF funding is almost the entire amount of 26.3. This is a $2.4 million reduction, both general fund and gross funding, which is about 7.5% of the budget. Item number 1, there's not many items, there's 3. Item number 1, executive recommended $5 million general fund and 29 FTE positions to establish 3 additional enforcement teams for complaint investigation to help with decreasing the backlog and increasing cases related to the Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act additions in 2023. The House provides $2 million in authorization for 10 FTE positions. And makes up the funding changes for civil rights. For boilerplate, section 402, executive recommended to increase authorization for private funding, private donated funding to the department from $600,000 to $1 million. House retains the amount at $600,000. Section 404, House makes numerous revisions to the complaint investigations reporting to better track the amount of cases the department receives, how many investigates, and staffing levels. And I'll hand it over to Austin for the executive office.
Austin Scott, House Fiscal Agency. I'm going to be looking at the executive office first, section of the H1 substitute. You'll see the gross funding for the executive office included in this bill is $9.3 million, all of which is general fund. That's an increase of $431,700 general fund over current law, and you'll see the details listed there on item number 1. Again, we're on page 9, executive office operations. You'll see that GF increase of $431,700. That increase matches what was included in the executive budget. Flipping forward to page 10, you'll see the beginning of the legislature section. The legislature year-to-date funding as of the first week of February, gross $192.3 million. What's included in the House substitute before you this morning is $201 million. So that's an increase of $8.3 million gross. 8.7 million gross. The bulk of that is an increase in general fund. You'll see an increase in general fund over current year of $8.4 million. Those changes are explained here, beginning with number 1 and continuing on to the next page. I'll look at item numbers 1, 2, and 3 as a group. In each of those cases, the executive recommended change matches the House change that's included in substitute H1. You see the increase for operations there of $9.4 million and decreases for the House and Senate Census Tracking Project and the Sentencing Commission as well. Flip over with me, please, to the top of page 11. I'll call your attention to item number 5. This accounts for the discrepancy between what was included in the executive budget and what's included in the H1 substitute this morning. It's $500,000 of general fund to establish Office of Tribal Legislative Liaison. Again, this is a new addition to the budget included in the House bill, $500,000, and that's to establish a tribal liaison within the Michigan legislature. And flipping over to conclude the legislature section, you'll see at the top of page 12 begins the section for the Office of the Auditor General. Current year funding gross for the Office of the Auditor General, $29.8 million. The funding included in this morning's House substitute is $31.2 million, of which 21.4 is general fund. There are some discrepancies between what we heard in February for the executive budget and what you see before you this morning in April for the House version of Auditor General funding. I'll call your attention to items numbers 1 and 2. There towards the bottom half of page 12, there is an increase of $1.5 million gross included in the House bill. That's over current year. About $1 million of that is general fund. And item number 2 includes, or highlights rather, fund source adjustments that were included in the executive budget. Those are not included in the House bill. The executive recommendation included reductions to interdepartmental grant funding and restricted funding as well. Those recommendations are not concurred with in the House H1 substitute. Next department is Department of State.
For Department of State, gross funding is $291.8 million. This matches the executive recommended amount, and this is a $12.4 million decrease from the current year due to the elimination of one-time funding. As you can see through pages 14 and 15, House concurs with which each of the requests, particularly items 1 through 6. These are requests for staffing level increases. House concurs. Item number 7, House concurs with $1.1 million increase in state restricted funding for increased costs related to the Water Wonderland license plates. And House concurs with item number 8, $1.1 million in 8 FTE positions for implementation of Proposal 22-1, which is the financial disclosure reporting. There is one difference, or two differences, between the House recommended budget and the executive. Items 14 and 15, House includes a $100 placeholder for public driver education assistance, as the department presented on in subcommittee. This would support schools and families for costs related to providing and taking driver education courses. Item 15 is a $100 reduction relating to 14, and this is taken from the executive direction line item. Our boilerplate, I will highlight on the next page, page 17, section 719. House concurs with the executive in deleting a report on HAVA grant funding, as that funding has been dispersed and is done. However, House adds a new section to require the department to report on distributions of funding from funds appropriated in fiscal year 25 for election administration allocated to counties, cities, and townships. And we'll move to DTMB. Page 18. House recommends $1.8 billion total and $523.5 million general fund. This is a $276.3 million gross reduction, which amounts of 13.4%. And for general fund, it's a reduction of $309.2 million, or a reduction of 37.1%. And again, this is related to a one-time funding in the current year. Item number 1, the executive recommended $31.5 million general fund for the employee flexible spending account, state matching funds for dependent care. House does not include this. Item number 2, executive recommended $25 million for deposit into the Make It in Michigan competitive fund, which is for use to leverage funding opportunities from the federal government. House does not include the additional deposit in fiscal year 25. And this makes up for the majority of the reduction to the overall budget. This is a reduction of $286.8 million. Item number 5, executive recommended $10 million general fund for a self-sustaining fund to self-insure property and building contents at state-owned facilities for damages. House does not include. Item number 6, House does concur and includes $10 million general fund for ongoing funding to the Michigan Public Safety Communication System for ongoing maintenance of the network and towers. Number 8, state facilities maintenance, executive recommended $8 million general fund for ongoing maintenance to state-owned structures. House does not include. Item 11, executive recommended $2.4 million and 3 FTE positions to upgrade the Michigan.gov websites to translate content in multiple languages. The House provides $2.4 million, but by using the balance of a 2022 work project for Information Technology Investment Fund, this funding does not show up in the line items, but it is appropriated in boilerplate, so that's why you see the $0 on the right there. Item number 12, House concurs with the executive with including $2 million general funds for a one-time funding for the state fleet electric vehicle transition to help the state prepare and transition to an electric vehicle state motor fleet. And item 15 is a new pilot program added by the House, which would provide free feminine hygiene products in state-owned and leased buildings. This is similar to item 11. It shows $0. It's not included in the Part 1 line items, but it is uses the balance of the 2022 work project. And lastly, for Part 1, I will highlight item 20. House concurs with, well, House includes $250,000 of $251,000 recommended. The remaining $1,000 is used from the same work project utilized for the prior two items that I mentioned. For DT&B boilerplate, skip to page 22, section 813. This authorizes the department to charge departments and agencies for services of the state motor vehicle fleet. The House revises this section to require DT&B to adjust its charges to departments and agencies if the price of fuel is above, if changes 10% or more above or below the budgeted price, and replaces unleaded gasoline with fuel. Sections on the next page, since they are related, section 839 and 867, three below it, were two sections recommended by the executive to include that would authorize federal and state restricted funding based on initiatives undertaken. House does not include this spend and receive authorization. For section 866, House requires a report on projects funded by the Energy Efficiency Revolving Fund, which is an existing fund that supports energy efficient projects, and with savings and energy, takes those savings and for deposit back into the fund. House adds a report on all projects that utilize this. And the remaining is boilerplate sections being deleted or added according to what's included in for Part 1 one-time funding. That is it for DT&B.
All right, we'll conclude with Treasury. I'm starting on page 24. At the top of page 24, the House substitute recommends gross funding of $2.7 billion for the Michigan Department of Treasury, of which $397.6 million is general fund. That represents an increase of $74.6 million gross over current year and $4.9 million general fund over current year. Taking these individual changes, item numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 are a group. So we'll begin with at the top there with item number 2, Revenue Sharing Trust Fund. This is a new addition that's appearing in this H1 substitute. It's $591.7 million. This is sales tax revenue that's being appropriated for revenue sharing. This is for cities, villages, townships, counties. So this is, if you're looking for revenue sharing, to pinpoint that in the House substitute, you can find that revenue sharing trust fund line item in the revenue sharing section, and it corresponds with boilerplate section 951. The next three items, 3, 4, and 5, 3 is city, village, township revenue sharing, 4 county revenue sharing, and 5 county incentive program. Those 3 items that are in current law and appeared in the executive budget do not appear in the House substitute Rather, they are removed in favor of the inclusion of the revenue sharing trust fund. So if you're looking for revenue sharing, that's what to look for in the House substitute and where to find its analog both in current law and in the executive recommendation. Again, that's $591.7 million. The revenue sharing recommendation in the executive budget in the ongoing section of the bill was $577.2. So that's sort of a line to draw between those. Moving forward to item number 6, Public Safety Trust Fund. This is a new addition as well in the House substitute, $110.9 million gross. It's all general fund. It is 110.9, all general fund gross. This is for the establishment of a public safety trust fund, and you see that the distribution percentages there: 6.5% of funding to DHHS for public health grants, for cities, villages, and townships, 2% of funding to the Crime Victims' Rights Fund, and the bulk of the fund, 91.5%, is for cities, villages, townships, and counties, specifically for public safety programs, violence prevention programs. Moving forward down the page, again, we're on page 25 at this point. Item numbers 8, 9, and 10 are all concurrences with the executive budget, and I should circle back to number 7 before flipping forward. The executive recommendation included funding for a Michigan vehicle rebate program at $25 million general fund. That is not included in the House substitute this morning. Please flip forward with me to page 26. Item number 12, secure retirement for small businesses. Executive budget included $3 million GF for this purpose. It would establish a state-managed retirement marketplace for small businesses specifically. The House substitute includes $1.5 million of general fund for that purpose. Item numbers 13 through 20, so the balance of page 26 and continuing on to the top of page 27, those are all items of concurrence between what was included in the executive budget and what's included in the House budget this morning. So flipping forward to page 27, concluding with the last couple of items here, I'll highlight item number 21, the Michigan State Lottery. The executive budget recommended the inclusion of $1 million in additional funding from the State Lottery Fund, and that was to support efforts to sell and promote lottery products. That is excluded from the House substitute. And the final item I'll highlight before concluding with boilerplate is item 23, living donor tax credit. This appears in the House substitute. It was not included in the executive budget. This is $750,000 general fund to support an ongoing living donor tax credit program. I'll conclude by highlighting 3 boilerplate sections and return to Chair Brabeck and take questions at her discretion. Page 28, you'll see boilerplate sections that correspond with both the Public Safety Trust Fund, that's section 939, and section 951, that corresponds with the Revenue Sharing Trust Fund, and you see the percentages for distribution among cities, villages, and townships, as well as counties for the Revenue Sharing Trust Fund. That's in boilerplate section 951. And I'll conclude on page 29, section 994. This is boilerplate attached to the item I mentioned previously for secure retirement for small businesses, $1.5 million in general fund, and it gives some more background and information on how that program would work, again, for a program for small businesses. We're happy to take questions at the chair's discretion.
Thank you both so much. Colleagues, as you can see, this budget there are lots of moving parts with this budget. I want to thank Mike and Austin for kind of going on this ride with us. And I also want to thank our policy staff, Coffee Ann and Tom, for doing this as well. And so I'm happy to entertain if folks have questions for any of us. And obviously there are some new things. There are some things that we've taken out, and so, but very different from last year's budget as well. And so we will entertain any questions that folks have. And then I'll just kind of uplift a couple things and we can do amendments. Vice Chair Bowen, Minority Vice Chair Bowen.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Austin and Mike, for working with us. But I really want to thank you, Chair Braybeck, for your thoughtfulness in this budget, in listening through testimony and some of the questions from us. And we are very happy to see some transparency and accountability, and working to make sure that we are documenting things as we transition into a new year. And I really do appreciate that. Look forward to working with you more closely. Do appreciate the additional dollars going to our locals where our people are at. So as we move into amendments, I did want to personally thank you and the staff. So thank you.
Thank you, Minority Vice Chair. Vice Chair Hood.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. Let's see, I am looking at the Treasury, item number 6, the Public Safety Trust Fund. And having been on DHHS, I am aware of our investments in facing violence prevention through public health strategies like violence interventions. Is funding intended to move into DHHS for that purpose? And are you able to clarify about how much funding would that be at 6.5%?
Sure. So the Public Safety Trust Fund is appropriated at $110.9 million general fund. As was mentioned, just under, 6.5% of funding would be for public health grants. These are to cities, villages, and townships, so available to locals, that would be awarded through the Department of Health and Human Services. This appropriation appears in the Treasury budget. My understanding is the intention is for it to remain in the Treasury budget, though these grants would be received by locals from the Department of Health and Human Services. Let's see. The funding would be roughly 11, 10, probably, it would be north of $6.5 million, closer to $8 million, I'm going to guess.
I have 7.
Right, in that ballpark. So that's, we're thinking in the same area.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Vice Chair. Any other questions before we get to the amendments? I just wanted to uplift a couple of things, and I know that both Mike and Austin uplifted these things, but a couple of things. One, the tribal liaison position, we put that in the budget. Right now, the departments have a liaison to our tribes, but we do not as a legislature. And so we wanted to add that because we wanted direct contact with our tribal members. And in the Attorney General budget, I thought it was really important to include and support our survivors and Operation Survivor Justice, which will allow the extradition of folks who have committed crimes that are sexual assault in nature, and to be able to hold them accountable, we need to be able to partner with the federal government, and so I thought that that was really important. In Treasury, there's a living donor tax credit. We have, there's a bill, an accompanying bill with this, a policy bill, excuse me. We have 16,000 people in Michigan who are on dialysis right now, 16,000. And according to our partners at U of M Transplantation Center, a transplantation is the best way to be able to offer a longer life for folks who are experiencing that. And so there's been a lot of work with our Treasury Department and being able to figure out how to make that work. But this will allow for donors who are giving the gift, truly the gift of life, to be supported both by lost wages, childcare, transportation, and lodging during their time that they have given this incredible gift. And then there was one more thing that I wanted to uplift. Oh, and DTMB, the Feminine Hygiene Products Program. This is something that coincidentally DTMB was looking into last fall. We started talking about and reached out to them, and they had the numbers right away since they were looking into it last fall. And so in the 44 buildings that are both owned and operated by DTMB, this is something that we are wanting to try so that those products are available for folks. So I just wanted to uplift those for people. And if there are no other questions, we can start on our 18 amendments. Okay, all right. So let's start here. Okay, so everyone should have now in order all of the amendments, as well as kind of the, thank you, Mike and Austin, I'm so sorry. Thank you both so much. You should have a sheet that looks like this. That has everything in order, and we'll just go through and allow the individual who is offering the amendment to offer any comments, and then we will vote on each one of these. So, Rep. Bolin, we have 7854 is the first one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this amendment would require the state to post the outstanding pension liabilities. This is something that regularly used to be reported by department. It was cut out of this year's budget, and with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you will.
A motion to restore outstanding pension liabilities reporting. Chair Braybeck?
Pass.
Representatives Hood?
Pass.
Curie?
Pass.
O'Neill?
Pass.
Steckloff?
Pass.
Menser?
Pass.
Boland?
Yes.
Leitner?
Yes.
Kuhn?
Yes.
Chair, you have 3 yeas, 6 passes. The motion does not pass.
Thank you so much. Rep. Bolin, you're up again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This budget amendment would restore contingencies to the current year level. In most of the budgets throughout this year's executive recommendation, it calls for doubling the contingencies for both federal, state, and local and private funds, all of them. And this would simply restore the contingency levels to the current levels. And with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? Clerk, if you would.
On the motion to adjust contingency authorization levels, Chair Braybeck?
No.
Representatives Hood?
No.
Curie?
No.
O'Neill?
No.
Steckloff?
No.
Menser?
No.
Boland?
Yes.
Leitner?
Yes.
Kuhn?
Yes.
Chair, you have 3 yeas, 6 nays. The motion does not pass.
Thank you so much. Rep. Leitner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment just provides for a BSF deposit of $150 million. With that, I move my amendment.
Any questions? What's that? Okay. Any questions, colleagues? Mr. Clerk?
On the motion of the BSF deposit, Chair Braybeck?
No.
Representatives Hood?
No.
Curie?
No.
O'Neill?
No.
Steckloff?
No.
Menser?
No.
Boland?
Yes.
Leitner?
Yes.
Kuhn?
Yes.
Chair, you have 3 yeas, 6 nays. The motion does not pass.
Thank you so much. Rep. Leitner.
I have an amendment for page 38 that says preference must not be given for goods or services for the purpose of environmental issues, social issues, and corporate governance. I move my amendment.
Thank you, Rep. Any questions, colleagues? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
On the motion to amend section 205, Chair Braybeck?
No.
Representatives Hood?
No.
Curie?
No.
O'Neill?
No.
Steckloff?
No.
Menser?
No.
Boland?
Yes.
Leitner?
Yes.
Kuhn?
Yes.
Chair, you have 3 yeas, 6 nays. The motion does not pass.
Thank you. Rep. Kuhn.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move the amendment that assures that our work project boilerplate remains until the work project is finished. Thank you.
Did
I'd
you
like to
say?
move.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to move.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
On the motion to maintain work project language, Chair Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood,
Pass.
Fury,
Pass.
O'Neill,
Pass.
Steckloff,
Pass.
Menser,
Pass.
Boland,
Yes.
Lightner,
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
Chair, 3 yeas, 6 passes, the motion does not pass.
Thank you. Rep. Kuhn.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Section 228 is a new proposed section, and I think it's unfortunate. I think it will increase the cost of construction, exacerbate the shortage of workers, undermine construction projects across the state, and undercut job opportunities both for union and non-union workers. Madam Chair, I move to delete that section. Thank you.
Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk?
On the motion to strike section 228, Chair Brayback.
No.
Representative Hood,
No.
Fury,
No.
O'Neill,
No.
Steckloff,
No.
Menser,
No.
Boland,
Yes.
Lightner,
Yes.
Kuhn. 3 yeas, 6 nays, the motion does not pass.
Thank you.
We're going to pass on that.
Pass on this one? Okay, thank you. All right. Rep. Lightner, on 7837. Sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in regards to the Sentencing Commission. Right now, there's just a placeholder in there, and my amendment would strike that placeholder and insert $1,100,000 and adjust the totals. With that, I move my amendment.
Thank you, colleagues. Any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Chair to adjust funding for Sentencing Commission, Chair Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood,
Pass.
Fury,
Pass.
O'Neill,
Pass.
Steckloff,
Pass.
Menser,
Pass.
Boland,
Yes.
Lightner,
Yes.
Kuhn.
Pass.
Chair, you have 2 yeas, 7 passes. The motion does not pass.
Thank you so much. Rep. Lightner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in the civil rights budget, this next amendment. It is, right now, they're proposing 28 FTEs. My amendment would strike the 28 and put in 26, and it would also cut the funding by the roughly $534,000 for those 2 particular FTEs. With that, I move my amendment.
Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Motion on adjustments to the executive office line item, Chair Brayback.
No.
Representatives Hood,
No.
Fury,
No.
O'Neill,
No.
Steckloff,
No.
Menser,
No.
Boland,
Yes.
Lightner,
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
3 yeas, 6 nays, the motion does not pass.
Great, thank you. Rep. Boland, Minority Vice Chair, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This budget amendment would reduce the number of requested FTEs for petition processing. As many of you know, we are going through some changes in the petition processing in the Bureau of Elections, and I think it behooves us to reduce the requested number to 2, and this would cut the dollar amount as such. And with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you, colleagues. Any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Motion to reduce funding for petition processing, Chair Brayback.
No.
Representatives Hood,
No.
Fury,
No.
O'Neill,
No.
Steckloff,
No.
Menser,
No.
Boland,
Yes.
Lightner,
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
There's 3 yeas, 6 nays, the motion does not pass.
Thank you so much. Rep. Kuhn.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a amendment to fund county clerks for county clerk education and training. I move that amendment.
Thank you, Rep. Any questions, colleagues? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
On the motion to amend section 723, Representative Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood,
Pass.
Fury,
Pass.
O'Neill,
Pass.
Steckloff,
Pass.
Menser,
Pass.
Boland,
Yes.
Lightner,
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
3 yeas, 6 passes, the motion does not pass.
Thank you, Minority Vice Chair Boland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This would cut back 2 FTEs in the Department of State that are under the Department of State executive direction and for the purposes of outreach staffing, 2 FTEs for that purpose for the chief executive. And with that, I would move my amendment.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk?
Motion to revise funding for executive direction in Department of State. Chair Brayback.
No.
Representatives Hood.
No.
Curie. O'Neill.
No.
Steckloff.
No.
Menser.
No.
Boland.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
We have 3 yeas, 6 nays, the motion is not passed.
Thank you so much. Rep. Leitner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment is in regards to third-party monies under Department of State. In the past, even in our most recent time, last term, we did have bipartisan legislation in regards to third-party monies. And with all the additional stuff that comes to light, we added in the no third-party money corporations and private, like identified private sources and corporate funds and entities to that language. So with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you, colleagues. Any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Motion to revise section 717. Chair Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood.
Pass.
Curie. O'Neill.
Pass.
Steckloff.
Pass.
Menser.
Pass.
Boland.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
We have 3 yeas, 6 passes, the motion is not passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Rep. Boland?
Excuse me. Thank you again, Madam Chair. This amendment would require DTMB to also record and charge back to individual departments any electrical charging station or electric vehicle charging. They do that now for gasoline, and this would just ensure that departments are being properly charged and we're recording and reporting what it costs to charge the vehicles in the fleet. With that, I move my amendment.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Motion for vehicle charging rates. Chair Brayback.
No.
Representatives Hood.
No.
Curie.
No.
O'Neill.
No.
Steckloff.
No.
Menser.
No.
Boland.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
We have 3 yeas, 6 nays, the motion is not passed.
Thank you so much. Minority Vice Chair Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this follows along the lines of additional transparency. While we did not appropriate money under this in this general government budget, we have the Make It Michigan, and this would require that if established and when established, that any transfers would have to be approved by the Appropriations Committee. And with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
On the motion of Michigan, Make It in Michigan transfers, Chair Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood.
Pass.
Curie.
Pass.
O'Neill.
Pass.
Steckloff.
Pass.
Menser.
Pass.
Boland.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
We have 6 yeas, I'm sorry, 3 yeas, 6 passes, the motion is not passed.
Thank you so much. Minority Vice Chair Bowen. Our last two.
Thank you again. This falls in the line, this is under the Revenue Sharing Trust Fund category now, and everyone knows I've long been an advocate for election funding and trying to find a source. This is an increase amount, and I so appreciate that, and also funding the general revenue, the trust fund. And so this would require that 3% of the CVT allocation or appropriation go to early voting and equipment reserves, and 1% to local roads, and 3% with the counties would go to local roadways. And with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Motion of revenue sharing distributions, Chair Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood.
Pass.
Curie. O'Neill.
Pass.
Steckloff.
Pass.
Menser.
Pass.
Boland.
Yes.
Leitner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
3 yeas, 6 passes, the motion is not passed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. Minority Vice Chair Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, so appreciate it, and also obliging us with the last-minute distribution of these and getting everything in order. But what this would, as you know, the state invested over the last couple of years quite a bit of money to retrofit our IT systems to collect City income taxes investing quite a bit. We don't have any additional communities coming forth, but this would require a report so we can monitor that investment and make adjustments in the future. And with that, I move my amendment.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, any questions? Mr. Clerk, if you would.
Motion for reporting on the city income tax program. Chair Brayback.
Pass.
Representatives Hood.
Pass.
Curie.
Pass.
O'Neill.
Pass.
Speckloff.
Pass.
Spencer.
Pass.
Poland.
Yes.
Lightner.
Yes.
Kuhn.
Yes.
3 yeas, 6 passes. The motion does not pass.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, are there any further amendments? Okay. Seeing none, Rep. Hood moves to report the House substitute for HB 5516H1 out of the House Subcommittee and refer it to the House Standing Committee on Appropriations with recommendation that it passed. Pass. Mr. Clerk, if you would.
On the motion to move House Bill 5516H1 to the Appropriations Committee, it's a recommendation that it pass. Chair Brayback.
Yes.
Representatives Hood.
Yes.
Curie.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Steckloff.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Poland.
Pass.
Lightner.
Pass.
Kuhn.
No.
Chair, you have 6 yeas, 2 passes, 1 nay. The motion passes.
Thank you so much. Again, I want to say thank you to all of my colleagues up here. Thanks for all of your input and your work on this. Thank you to our HFA team, to our policy team. Thank you to the departments. This budget, I love this budget. It's, like I said, there are so many moving parts and so many really meaningful things that we get to do for our residents in it. And so I'm grateful to all of you for your partnership. And this is just the beginning. I mean, I know this was a heavy lift to get here, but we're now continuing. And so we will keep going and working I get to work with all of you still and work with all of our departments. And with that, you have my gratitude, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.